what do you think about psychiatric diagnosis in the DSM system? This has been on a criticized in the last years, and also been on a hype. So what's your take on psychiatric diagnosis?
It's a complex question that I have mixed feelings about. And I think that the dangers of diagnosis is greatly exaggerated.
Where?
From the critics. The dangers depicted by the critics is greatly exaggerated. Also, the benefits and the or the scope of the or the possibilities of the diagnosis is greatly exaggerated by the people who are pro diagnosis. Actually, it's not only problems between psychiatric diagnosis, it's a problem with diagnosis in the first place. Because there's a very big difference between diagnosing that my headache is the result of a gut parasite that I contracted somewhere. Or the diagnosis headache. A headache is not really a diagnosis, but if we can find out that the headache is caused by this parasite, that's a diagnosis. So frequently, also in regular medicine, you have diagnoses like this. Hypertension. What's its caused? We don't know, but it's hypertension, or irritable bowel syndrome. That's a diagnosis. So how do you know it's this diagnosis? Well, the bowel is irritated. But that's actually just a description of the symptoms. There's no explanations. There's doesn't give you any guidance for how to think about this, or how to find out the causes in the physiology for this. And the psychiatry diagnoses are similar to diagnoses like this, like pain. What's its cause? We don't know, but it's pain. And depression or ADHD, it's just constellations of symptoms. And that's interesting. It seems that some constellations come again and again. And that might lead you to think that there is some common cause of this, like a parasite, or is it just coincidence? But it doesn't tell you what to do about it. So most of the medical diagnosis system is probably flawed in the same way as the psychiatric diagnosis. But it's not no big problem. It's if you look at it as well, you have a particular constellation of symptoms. Well, the person knew that already, and now we can give it a name. Maybe that's a good thing, because now we have a code word for it instead of calling it all of these symptoms. It's this thing. It has a name. It's sort of an externalization of it.
So in that sense, it could be a good thing, do you think?
It could be a good thing. Many people like that, find it helpful. So if people find it helpful, good. If people don't find it helpful, don't worry about it. I would treat someone with an ADHD diagnosis, or the symptoms that could lead to an ADHD diagnosis, exactly the same.